What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to give you guys an analysis of Tesla stock. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with this market. So, looking at Tesla, you guys could quite clearly see that we have a tendency of entering these different cycles. Some cycles tend to be bullish, some tend to be a little bit more bearish. It depends on what's happening with the news and factors like that. But one thing that's worth mentioning about Tesla is that as these cycles perpetuate, they tend to align with the overall market, and they also tend to align with like what we see on a historical basis. So I'll talk more about what I mean by that. I want to go back to this right over here. You guys could see that if we look at Tesla, okay, we have a tendency of moving similar to the market. So, what do I mean by that? If you go back the last couple of the last year or so, right? Tesla was dipping with SPY. They basically traded sideways here. They pushed up together up until um, around that July period. They dipped together around the August period. They pumped and rallied together up until the December period. Then Tesla started to look weak early during this year. SPY was starting off to push a little bit while Tesla was weak, and then they dumped together basically. So my point is they tend to move in similar directions. Here's another example. Look at it like this. They both were on a big uptrend. Tesla started dumping early, and then SPY also dumped and they came down together. So you guys could see how the overall market affects Tesla, right? Look at the QQQ. It's very similar. Here, the QQQ was weak, Tesla was dipping. They pushed the bits together. See, Tesla was pushing here, playing a game of catch up with the QQQ. They came down similarly during a similar period of time. And then, since they both kind of bottomed around this period, they both saw this mega rally up until December. So they were moving very similar overall in terms of the trend. Then they came down together, pushed together. Tesla starts to look weak ever since we got the New Year's deliveries showing a decline. That's a decline year over year for their deliveries. Then we got lots of bad news about their sales decline. So Tesla was weak compared to the QQQ. The QQQ saw one more rally. Tesla tried to rally just a little bit, and then they just collapsed together for the last like month. So my point is, they do have a lot in common. And then, like I said before, look at the trend. They were both on this big uptrend together. Tesla obviously was a little bit weak to start off the year than the QQQ, but then they ended up dumping together. So my point is, when the overall market sees a very, very bearish phase, Tesla is going to likely follow that. When the overall market starts to bounce really hard, Tesla is going to likely try to follow that as well. Now, it's not going to be perfect as it depends on Elon Musk, the recession, and things just like that. But this could give us an idea of what Tesla is going to do just by looking at these cycles. Now, the very important thing for the markets is that we have President Trump declaring April 2nd Liberation Day because he's going to be announcing his reciprocal tariffs. He keeps on hyping this up, and this could cause more volatility in the markets because there could be more fears again. You guys remember when President Trump was announcing his tariffs just, a couple of weeks ago, and you guys could see the effect this had on the market. We saw Tesla dump really, really hard the last couple of weeks. If you look at SPY, this dumped insanely hard as these tariffs were coming out. That did play a role in why that happened. The QQQ did the same thing. We saw this insane dump as well. So the market is reacting to these tariffs, and that does cause some fears about inflation, causes fears about a recession here and there. And it's fear that's driving the way the market is moving. So what does this mean moving forward? I just want to say that Tesla is very much like news based, and there's been a lot of talk about how people want Elon Musk to step down, Tesla's collapsing, this and that. It's very chaotic. People are starting to burn down Teslas at their showrooms, and it's just chaos right now. So what concerns me is that we might get their earnings. I'm not too confident about how earnings are going to be looking for Q1 because of the fact that we did see a bit of a decline so far. We'll see if that helps Tesla or not, if they could really try to, hype up their robotaxi and such. And then simultaneously, we'll just have to see how it goes. Historically, what happens to Tesla is the share price likes to bottom between April and May. That's typically when we bottom. Let me just give you some examples. If you go back on the weekly time frame, Let's actually hide my lines, my cyclical periods. So if we go back to a lot of the times when Tesla forms, bottoms before we get some kind of rally move. So going back like this, we could see that right over here. We saw Tesla back in like 2021. We hit a bottom in this April to May period. Then we saw this huge rally before it started to dump again. Another example is right here. Even though Tesla was on a very, very big downtrend, the whole market was on a big downtrend. Okay, in 2022, as we entered a bear market, Tesla formed a temporary bottom in May. In May, it formed a bottom before it saw this rally move before it started to dump again. And this is the whole market, guys. So it's not just Tesla. Another example is right over here. Tesla started off strong in like the 209s. We did see a temporary dip in the April period. This was like a 2-month dip right here. And then we formed this bottom for basically 2023. We formed our bottom at 150 in May, and then we started this rally up until July. We continued to maintain these levels up until the end of the year. And it wasn't until the next year we saw Tesla dump again. Notice that we formed this bottom in 2024 around April. April is when Tesla formed the bottom. Then we started this mega rally, which continued up until December. So historically, it likes to bottom around that April to May period, or at least form some kind of bottom, because it loves to rally as we get closer to summer. Around like mid to late May, it starts to like rally. Then June tends to be a bullish month for Tesla historically. So, with that being said, when you go to the 4-hour basis and you look at our cyclicals like this, what you'll see is that we have these different periods of risk. We had a period where we were bullish, so we had this rally, came down, rallied, came down. Then we switched over here. This is when we turned bearish. We dumped, tried to bounce and dumped a little bit more. Tried to bounce, we dumped a little bit more. And then we tried to form a bottom like around here, at least a temporary one. So, like I said before, we could be looking for a temporary relief move, but I don't think that the bottom is in for Tesla quite yet, because once President Trump starts announcing his reciprocal tariffs, and once he starts to announce a lot of different things, then that could also affect us. It also depends on earnings, but what I'm seeing is that for the short term, if we do get some kind of break above this 268 area, we could attempt to continue to rally to about the 270s. Could we go higher? I mean, it depends. It depends on if we could hold above 270. If we do, we could be trying to retest this yellow trend line. Keep in mind, we did reject off the trend line many times before, and then that's when we could just continue the next leg down. I'm eyeing buy zones. So my strategy is not about just like, you know, waiting for Tesla to dump to buy more. It's more about us essentially being very, very patient and then dollar cost averaging. So if I see Tesla at 215, I start to buy a little bit. If it touches 200, I'll buy even more, right? You want to hold a lot of cash on the side and get ready to do that. If you don't have much cash, you can also take very, very small positions, right? There's lots of brokerages that let you buy, parts of shares, fractional shares. That's another example. But my point is, it's possible Tesla dumps the 180s, even the 150s. That's a bit of a stretch. Maybe I would say the 180s is still a very, very possible area Tesla could be entering. If we get another rejection from this phase, temporarily it could attempt to rally as we get close to April. But then once we get to April, there's reciprocal tariffs, more inflationary fears, and then fears coming. There could be another bearish cycle, and that could be taking us up until the end of April to form our ultimate bottom. And then I do expect there to be a big rally between like mid May up until like the June period. I do expect a nice rally to be coming. So we could be forming a bottom soon once we get to those lower levels. So keep that in mind, guys. There's going to be that risk of major downside coming with these tariffs. It could take a while, but by the time we finally form our bottom. So I don't think we're done yet. And then once we form our bottom, Tesla will see a very, very big rally back up, whether it's in April to May. There should be a big rally, most likely according to cycles, to get back up to this period like this. So I'm going to be looking for a move like this, just for example. But like I said, this is just another example. If we look at SPY, for example, we have a very similar trend. We have these cycles on SPY. If you kind of like look at it like this, there were bullish phases and then there's like bearish phases. This right here is like a bearish phase. We entered a very big one. This also led to some downside. So if this tries to like push, if this does try to push a little bit more, approaching those reciprocal tariffs, that could be the pivot point, and that could be when things start to kind of turn back down for us to form our bottom. I believe SPY will likely test 535 to 540 before we form a temporary bottom, and then could try to see some kind of relief as we get closer to like the June period. May take a little bit longer to get there before it tries to like eventually turn. But these are just more examples of the cycles, so you guys can see we're technically in a bearish cycle right now. We're still in a bearish cycle. We're going to see some temporary relief, which is what we saw so far, but I don't think the bottom is in yet. Especially heading into April, things could still get very risky with reciprocal tariffs and recessionary fears. So, in a previous video, I calculated how 535 to 540 is possible. Still is a strong possibility when you look at the charts. On the QQQ, we have these cycles as well. Could we see a temporary relief move? It's possible we try to relieve up until like April, or if we get close to April. If we hold above our support, as long as we don't lose 474, we could continue to try to push for a bit. And then once the reciprocal tariffs come, that could be the turning point, and this may ultimately make its way down to the 450s. I could see that potentially coming before we form our ultimate bottom. So there could be another phase where we end up dipping back down to like the 450 area. We calculated that in a previous video, and then, like I said before, we're just gonna have to be very patient for now. Anyways, my point in making this video is to tell you I don't think the bottom is in yet for the markets, even for like Tesla. I do think we might see some temporary relief right now, and we'll have to see how well we hold up. But as we get to April, I just want to give you guys a heads up that we're not too far away from it. And there's going to be a lot of these reciprocal tariffs coming, so that could make things very, very complicated for the markets. Okay. So get ready, guys, with the reciprocal tariffs coming. There could be temporary relief right now, but I would be careful. And then if we do get another big sell off in the markets for Tesla, look at it as an opportunity, because every time we sell off, we do end up recovering. Also, just know that a good strategy is a dollar cost averaging, have buy points. For me, it's going to be like around 215 for Tesla, 200, and then 180 if we do end up dipping that low. Those are going to be some good buy points. So we'll see how things go. Anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a quick analysis. Have a good weekend, guys, and peace out.